I'm Mahdi Shaheeb Sher. My website is www.mahdishaheeb.com. That's www.shaheeb.com. I think one of my interests in the world is gender equality. I think that gender equality is quite important in the world. It's one of the most important issues for the progress and development of the world. I think that it is unfortunately not receiving quite the attention that it should. But I think gender equality, where 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 the female population receives its due accord of attention and rights and responsibilities in the world, is a very just and important issue to deal with. I think that the women make up 50% of the world population. So it is quite an important issue. It is quite a serious issue. And I think that women should have a fair and just role in society where they have an equal responsibility and role within society. I think that they are, by all virtue, equal to any other human being. So I think there is no distinction or difference between gender, whether they're male or female. I think that people are people at the end of the day, irrespective of their gender. So there should be no distinction or differentiation between gender. I think that women and men should be equal in all respects, and especially in their participation within society. They should have a fair and just role within society where they can access services equally and they can contribute and live their lives equally within society. Um, so I think that is quite important, and I think that it should deserve a lot of attention by politicians and decision makers. I think people who are in a position to perhaps afford some opportunity for progress with gender equality. I think that, especially with the politicians, I think there can be room for new improved legislation to make it more accessible for women to be able to participate in society. I think that would be one of the best ways to encourage women to become involved in society and all of its sectors and areas of society. I think that if women were able to participate in society more, then they could become more focused and developed in all areas of the world. They could become more successful politicians, sports people or entertainers, and business people, and various other scientists and intellectuals. So I think there is room for further legislation and further room for improvement to allow women more opportunity to become involved in society and to participate in society. I think that one of the barriers to female development within the world is their kind of past history and background within the world. Women do, by all virtue, seem quite redundant in the world when you compare them to their male counterparts. They do seem to have a redundant role within society where it's a little bit more vacant than perhaps their male colleagues who are perhaps more active and participating in society. They have more jobs and influential decision making roles where they actually move the world with their opinions and ideas. And I think women, unfortunately, seem for some reason to suffer a condition where there is some kind of redundancy, and that unfortunately does set things back a bit. I think it's a great shame for the world to have a redundancy where 50% of the population is perhaps vacant or redundant because it's not participating in society or it doesn't have active roles within society. I think if you look at the female population and if you compare it to the animal kingdom as well, female as a gender and as part of the animal kingdom do seem to be more passive and quiet and silent. as kind of animals and people. They seem to be less active than males, and their role within the animal world, or the world itself in nature and the environment. I think their role within nature and the environment is especially quite silent when you compare it to their male counterparts, and that does seem quite unusual. It seems to be unfair to have a situation like this where there is some kind of a silence in the opposite sex, even though gender equality, even though all genders are equal, and I think both genders are equal. I think it is a bit of a shame to have a condition where it seems for some reason that the female gender especially seems to be a little bit silent or not as developing as much. So I think that for some reason the animal kingdom and the nature and the environment does have maybe harsh conditions placed upon maybe the female gender, that is setting it back slightly, and that seems to be a little bit unusual, and it should be investigated and studied. I think that because both genders are equal, they should be equal in their conditions, especially their biological conditions and physical conditions. And I think that if the male gender has an opportunity to develop itself in the world, then the female gender should also have an equal opportunity to develop itself in the world. And that I think is very important to justify in the world. I think that should be developed in the world where the female gender is allowed to develop fully to its full capacity, to its full potential, so it's able to fulfill its potential, so it's able to fulfill its potential in the world. And I think that is very important. So I think that both both genders, the male and female, should be completely equal and should have complete equality to fulfill their potential within the world. And I think that is very important. So I think that's one of the issues which seems to be of interest and a priority and a concern as well. And I think with this, it has to be explored of the roles between men and females as well. I think when you look at the history of man in the world, when you look at the history of the world, it's developed with lots of individuals, thousands and thousands of leaders in the world who've come and set foot on the world and have kind of pioneered their own thoughts and ideas to develop the world according to their own views and ideas. And I think that it's primarily, unfortunately, men who have been able to occupy this position. If you look at all of the leaders that the world has produced, 90% of the leaders of the world have been men, and maybe only 10% of leaders of the world have been women or female. Excuse me. So I think that men, for some reason, have occupied a pedestal on in the world. They've occupied a high seat in the world where they've been very dominant in the world. I think that we've had Alexander the Great, who was male. We've had Julius Caesar, Napoleon, Genghis Khan. We've had Isaac Newton and Galileo. We've had Nietzsche and various other philosophers and thinkers. And all of these individuals have all been male. 99% of artists are male. 99% of musicians are male as well. Most of the scientists of the world are male. Some of the most powerful politicians in the world are male. It seems that most of the decision makers and leaders of the world are male, and that does seem a little bit unusual, a little bit unbalanced to see that even though 50% of the world population is female, the majority of leaders of the world are in fact male, when it should be quite equal and it should be 50-50 balance. So I think that that is something that does need to be addressed. and this is quite important. I think that when it comes to female leaders, I think we've not had many scientists or politicians or kind of um, business people or perhaps leaders of the world who've pioneered the world, who've allowed human progress to develop within the world as part of the initiative of females within the world. I think the world is developed through the initiative of males and men who've come forward with their ideas and developed the world with their own ideas. And if you look at how many female leaders there have been in the world, there have been perhaps less than 1,000 female leaders in the world. Whereas if you look at the quantity of male leaders in the world, there have been in excess of maybe 100,000 male leaders in the world that have developed the world and progressed the world to what it is today. And if you compare that ratio, then it is very unbalanced and it does need to be addressed. I encourage females to take more of a leadership role within the world, to set forth their ideas as personal ideas, and to shape the world with those ideas as a personal virtue and a personal effort for the benefit of the world and for the change of the world. And I think this would be a good example for the world. So I think rather than having um, 1,000 female leaders in world history that have changed the world, like Joan of Arc or Margaret Thatcher or any other female leader that have perhaps changed the world on a significant level, then perhaps we should look at maybe an equal balance of hundreds of thousands of female leaders who can perhaps change the world equally as male leaders have changed the world, and there should be an equal balance. I don't know why there is this natural phenomena where male leaders far exceed female leaders in the world, but there does seem to be an incapacity and a redundancy with the female gender, where the world in its entirety, with all of world history, has only produced a handful of female leaders, where if you compare and read world history, it's littered with lots of male leaders hundreds of thousands of world leaders who have changed the world time and again in every era and period of the world. I think there have been male leaders who've changed the world. But I think when you look at female leaders, unfortunately, we can't see many examples of female leaders who've come in any period of time to change the world to any degree of significance. And that seems very unusual and disturbing to witness or to notice. So I think that we should try to discover and investigate why there is this imbalance between the female gender and the male gender, and perhaps readdress some of the imbalances. Perhaps it is some kind of a redundancy with the female role within society, where female role is a little bit redundant in society, as it is with nature and the environment, and perhaps it does need more of an active participation in the natural world and in nature and the environment. And I think that would be a good way to perhaps progress a gender balance so that females and males, men and women can be equal together and share a just role within the world. Thank you very much.